something to say. I really don't have anything else really that's nobody else is live, so I guess I decided to just go live. I put the thumbnail and I titled this video "The Modern Black Family." I posted this picture. It went viral. I posted it on my community tab. I thought I'd talk about it just to give some context. This is basically, I guess, a family photo that was taken. The woman in the picture, she has, basically decided to dress the way she did in the family photo. And obviously she got she got the attention that she was probably looking for, whether that be negative or positive. Um, it is actually, something that I guess is a normal thing now for women to be basically raising kids by themselves. And of course, that means everything is by themselves. It's just them and their children. And that includes the family photos. That includes just all aspects of life. And this is the modern, family, the modern black family. It is pretty much the standard now, unfortunately, for women to be single with kids, taking family photos with kids, all the entire social media of them and their children. And yeah, this is basically, the result of basically 1980s onward, independence. I could do everything by myself. And I guess I'll just say I'll try to talk about some things that I haven't necessarily talked about in regards to this. Like, I'll try to not make it as usual as far as the conversation. I'll just go right to the end. Like, what is the result possibly going to be with this? Like, the younger generation, a lot of men are kind of rebelling. They're not choosing to date. They're definitely not trying to sign up to be stepdads. I mean, at least not in mass as people did, generations prior. They're not necessarily signing up to become stepdads in mass. You have occasional men that do sign up to be stepdads, but it's not like a massive number or a lot of men that's signing up to be stepdads in this, basically day and time. And basically, I think that what we are going to have is some type of shift where people are just going to not probably date women in this country, and then maybe even just they have a lifetime of casual sex and maybe one or two children, and then basically live out their time. Like, and this is something that I'm seeing now. I think a lot of people are going to be in a old folks home, and they're gonna be trying to, basically hook up in a nursing home and deal with being, a single senior citizen. You know what I'm saying, in a nursing home. Like, this is where this is going. Like, forget all of the, you know, the precursor and the, what's going on right now. Let's talk about what is the end game of this situation? What is the end game of this experiment, this psyop, right? Where it's all of these single moms with children, and I think what the end result will be is from the children, they're going to be traumatized from this situation of growing up without a dad around, growing up with their mom living one place and their dad living another place. And they're not going to probably want to even be married. They're not going to probably, a lot of them probably won't even want to have children because they've seen all of the problems that they had to deal with their mother, and then the lies and the problems, growing up without a father in the household. So I think they're going to be the, basically generations coming up, like I'll say generation, because those kids in that photo, those are all generation alpha. Those are not Z's. Maybe one of them are, but I think all of those kids in that photo, those are generation alphas. They're going to be getting, older soon. They're going to start hitting teenage years. They're going to start dating. And I think that they're going to be I think it's already a slowdown of teenage pregnancies. It is already, I think, a lot of young people that they like, they're not trying to be, teenage moms. They're not trying to be like their mother, you know, and have all these children without any men around. So they, I see them using more contraceptives, using, they got like people taking a lot of women are taking Plan Bs. It's available at, basically drugstores across America. So all you got to do is, you don't even have to, like, a lot of people probably don't know how this works as far as these Plan B pills. You don't have to ask a doctor or anyone for any type of assistance. You could just grab the actual case off of the shelf. All you need is the like clerk at the drugstore or pharmacy or whatever, and just to open up the little case, because they usually have these like these little Plan B pills in a case where it's like locked up. It's got a sensor, and you just all you got to do is get the person to take the case off. Once they take the case off, that's you good to go. You could just, it's over the counter, which is crazy. And you think of other things that are not over the counter, it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, that's what's going on. Now, another thing, as far as the male birth control, I've read that they're starting like testing some type of gel. I don't know how it works as far as the gel. What do you do? Like, do you insert it topically, or do you you ingest the gel? I don't know, but they're working out some type of testing for basically FDA approval ultimately for male contraceptive. Okay, so I mean, basically what I'm saying is, as far as this, modern family experiment, it is pretty much going to crash and burn. This is not sustainable. It is not strength. It's not something that, if you look at basically civilizations of old to now, it was based off of strong armies, strong men, and also strong families. So when you have single mother ran households, you basically have a weakness lying behind every door when you have a bunch of single moms with children. because basically men can overpower women. Okay, I mean, even though a lot of times women don't like to think about that, they don't think, they don't even really, concern themselves too much about that, because America primarily is a police state, which the police are pretty much everywhere you go. And a lot of women do have their own little help networks and stuff like that. But it's not that many women that actually are pro gun, which is kind of strange. You would think women being as vulnerable, that are kind of aggressive or even kind of tomboyish, they still look at a gun like a gender role tool. So like guns are for men, boys and men, right? And girls don't play with guns, they played with dolls when they grew up. So when they grow up, yeah, a lot of women, they don't they look at guns, they're programmed to think guns are for boys and men, right? So they don't, they don't really, they kind of dainty and kind of, like kind of girly in the aspect of they are afraid of guns, or they're not really comfortable with guns because it's like a power tool that could kill people or something like that. And it's like, you would think a lot of these women, that because they're very single or they're in and out of relationships with different men at any given time, they don't have, a man around them because they don't really live with men a lot, or they're pretty single all the time, and then they have children. You would think a lot of these women would be very, very much just, very pro gun and into guns, but they're not. A lot of women, I think, I don't know the percentage of female gun owners in America. I mean, it's definitely a lot of female influencers that, basically show content about how to shoot a gun and clean a gun, and shooting guns, and doing target practice and stuff like that. But it's like a lot of women still are not really pro gun. And I think partially some of the women, they're not really into guns. They already know they're really batshit crazy. So if you give them a gun, they liable to shoot themselves, shoot their kids, or shoot somebody else and then go to jail or worse. So I think that's one aspect of it too. Because I'm just thinking about people that I know and having a gun. Like, yeah, a lot of women do not necessarily need any gun because they're already crazy. So you give them a gun, it just exacerbates the situation. But yeah, a lot of women are really not into guns like that, which is normal. It's a normal, I guess you want to say, gender role thing for women to really not be into guns. If you listening, definitely hit the like button. I don't really need anything but a like, but if you are, wait, hold on. Where's my if you are in if you do have the ability, let me see, where do I um have my thing here. I don't think I have the ability to do anything on here. I used to be able to do stuff. Wait, hold on. Let me see here. Yeah, definitely hit that like button. Like, share, subscribe. Yeah, I used to be able to put up some type of like picture or something like that. But I guess I'm not able to do that anymore. Um, so, anyways, but yeah, I think because, like I say, because of the gender roles, a lot of women just are not into guns like that, and they're just not going to be because they're programmed to be girls, and girls don't shoot guns, So it's a dilemma because when you think about men, violent men, and tyranny, men holding the tyranny of other men at bay, you got a whole bunch of women that they're independent, and the only reason they're able to be independent is because men protect them, and it's like they don't really think about it like that, I don't think. But I mean, women are surrounded by other men and uniform, and just men in general that hold other men accountable and hold other men at bay. Um, so it's a thing where it's not necessarily a good thing in the long run because families are communities, families are businesses, families are, like I say, communities, neighborhoods. They make up companies. They make up, you know, just whole countries. They all spring from families. So when you have a family and collapse brings forth from that type of dynamic, and you see it now. You see it now. I mean, the backtrack, you see the violence. The male young men in Chicago committing violence. Young men being unchecked because their mom. A lot of women, a lot of single mothers. What they tend to do is they try to be their children's friend. They try to be really nice to their children, like look out for their children in the sense of trying to be really nice and friendly. And being nice and friendly, that parenting style, it doesn't work when you have children that are rebellious, and what they do is a lot of these women, they try to coddle their children when their children are out doing whatever, who knows what, out in the street, and they're aware of it because they're not dumb. They know their children might be in a gang. They know their children might, be selling drugs even, but they kind of look the other way because they don't feel like they can do anything about it. They gotta work, and working means they're away from the house and they're gone. And then a lot of them just they live their life normally. They going out with their friends, they're going to have drinks, they're going to live their entire life. And then it's woe is me once once the son goes and gets locked up or gets killed. And it's like, yeah, you set all of that up by just basically looking the other way, and a lot of those women are spiteful toward the men, so they try to basically separate the children from the men because they spite. That's their way of spiting the man that they had children with that moved on from them or whatever that man did. They do that, so inconsequential. The result is a lot of times a bad situation where their sons, even daughters, get shot. They're out in the street, doing who knows what with who knows who, and then they, you get the cries and all of the stuff, the breakdown afterwards. After the dust settles and their child is shot, or in some type of lockup. in doing football numbers, in prison because they basically were a failed parent, trying to do everything by themselves and not involving the children with the father, not actively trying to let the children go to the father because they hated the father because they went back and forth arguing, fussing and fighting with him, and he ultimately moved on to someone else. So in order to spite him, you devoid uh the father from the relationship with his own children. You seeing this stuff, you seeing this behavior with DDG and the Holly Berry or Holly Bailey. And you like, you're seeing it. You seeing the playbook of what she's trying to do. Then you see the text messages. She's all crazy and shit, talking about she about to off herself because he's not giving her no attention. And it's just this is the whole playbook. Like it's kind of like, I'm not saying all black women just do this and nobody else does it. I mean, I think a lot of women do this, but it's primarily what black women do. It's almost like out of a textbook. Oh, I'm mad. You can't see your kids. It's unfair to the children, and it curses not only the children, it curses the woman because, I mean, ultimately, you got to understand the worst thing could possibly happen where those children, end up, in an early grave or in somebody's prison because you didn't allow that person that also birthed the children, which is the dad, in the children's lives, just to be petty and just to really be demonic and not let this father in his own children's lives, just so you can, have some type of emotional response from him or have him hate you or, feel like you one-upped him by not letting him see his own children. And this is, it's definitely a curse from this because you're dealing with karma. Karma is in all forms and fashions, and it is a lot of bad karma on the black community because of these things. It's a lot of bad karma, a lot of bad energy in these, you could say dark ghettos to point. I think Tommy Shelby wrote Dark Ghettos. And it's a lot of darkness. It's a lot of darkness in these black communities where, these women run roughshod and they take these children from their fathers, and make their children's lives in many ways a living hell by basically letting them do whatever they want to. And then ultimately to their own children's demise. The mom, she gets to live her life as crazy as it is or whatever. She gets to live her life. She can eat as much food as she wants. She could be fat as a bell pepper. She can, have as much, pleasure she wants in life. The children are, dead. They're worm food. And you see this like when I think about this, when it comes to mine, I think of basically the rapper. He went by in Chicago. I think Duck. FBG Duck, I believe, was his name, and his mom basically, I think she had like 5 or 6 kids, and like 4 of them died prematurely. One instance, it was a house fire, and a couple of the kids died. She ran out, but she left the kids in the house. And it's like, yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, this is extreme. This is extremely ghetto type of people, but nonetheless, like, this is a lot of women, a lot of single moms in the black community. They leave their children to be sacrifices, to be sacrificial lambs. You know, and the father's main role is to be the protector. If he's not there, he can't protect his own children. And I, I don't, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna leave out of there because, I'll just tell you what I was thinking about saying. And I was thinking about the white man and what he does in regards to, cold case files and forensic files and stuff like that. And, he might seem like a terrorist in that regard, but, after the dust settles, that reputation and that fear kind of keeps certain women at bay, to understand that it's consequences for your actions. Like, and it's like, um doing certain things will not be tolerated because I won't wait for a judge. That whole notion of not waiting for a judge and not caring about a judge, a jury, or law enforcement. I mean, it's some scary shit, but it is powerful. You can't say that man don't, even individually or as a whole, set a standard that you're not going to do this, this, and this, over my dead body. It is power in that, to a certain regard. And a lot of times, I'm not going to say black men are cowards because they don't do that, but we don't have a reputation of basically doing certain things like that. Now, is it done? Yes, it is done, but we don't have, that's not our standard, to just be like, the hell with it, and be almost like a unibomber or a suicide bomber, when it comes to certain family matters and stuff like that. We just move on and get some new pussy. We get a woman that cooperates, or cooperates better, or is better, and it's a better situation. And then usually the other woman gets bitter. The previous wife or previous baby mama, she gets bitter about this man moving on with this new relationship. So she tries to do certain things, and not letting the children see their dad is just one thing. They try to inflict financial damage on the man by asking for exorbitant amounts of child support, knowing how much that man makes and how much struggle he already has to deal with. They don't care because it's about being hateful and demonic, and evil towards this man, because he didn't want to be your beta male cuck simp, and follow directions. So he moved on and found somebody else that's a lot better, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, a lot of times that's what black men do. Black men don't normally, do the whole forensic file shit. I mean, does it happen? Hell yeah, it does. But that's not our calling card, per se. That's the caucus guys. They tend to do that a lot. And not to say that, I mean, it is something to that, in effect of, that's kind of to a certain extent respectful, because that's a standard. Okay, if you know what I'll do if you take this and this, and it's like, they know women deal with them know this motherfucker's, gonna probably go crazy. So I'm not gonna go down that road, or if I go down, it works out how it works out. It tends to, I'll be honest, it tends to work out better, and it's not just that. I mean, it's certain standards and principles and morals and ethics and all that type of stuff. But they women do petty shit too. White women are petty as fuck. White women are just as petty, if not more petty, as black women. Do evil shit, severely diabolical evil shit, when it comes to their children and certain domestic relations and breakups and shit like that. So it's not. I mean, it's not like pitting one against the other, but it is a thing where they do have a certain level of respect that they demand from their counterparts. Whereas black men, we just like, well, if you don't respect us, hit the door. There's the door. I'll leave. And then you have a situation where a lot of times it might be a situation where she don't want you to leave because she's trying to control the situation. That's what women do. Like, I'm gonna be honest with, like, you a young guy and you don't really know shit. Your father don't tell you nothing. Your uncle don't tell you nothing. If you get involved with a woman that she wants to argue and then don't want you to leave, she absolutely is trying to control you. That's a controlling woman. She's trying to control you. You got to leave her the fuck alone as soon as fucking possible, because that woman will never fucking try to let you go, because she's basically into controlling situations and men. Now, I'm not going to go into why women do that. It's some animalistic type shit, as well as just trying to control people, trying to bully people and shit like that. Just people think that if they can control the situation, that they can control certain outcomes and stuff like that. But yeah, like, if you dealing with a woman that tries to do stuff like that, yeah, she's absolutely, her modus operandi is control. It's not love. It's not she's into you and all of that. I mean, it's about she's trying to control the situation. She's trying, like, women can control their kids, but they try to also take a step further and try to control men. And it is certain men that will allow that shit because they don't really know themselves, or they might be like blue pill simps and they don't really know what the fuck to do, and they don't really have no experience with a lot of women, or they haven't had no uncle to really talk to them, or father, or whoever, and they kind of game goofy about stuff. And it's a lot of women that are just the same. They're game goofy when it comes to men. And the thing is that, yeah, I hands down, I can absolutely tell you, if you got a woman that's trying to like block your exit, she don't want you to leave, she'll cry when you leave. That's a woman that's trying to manipulate you and control you. I mean, leave like you motherfucking in a Friday the 13th movie and Jason is motherfucking coming around the corner, because that's who the fuck you're dealing with. You're dealing with a crazed lunatic that's trying to control situations and trying to control you. Don't ask me how I know about that type of shit. And the thing is that you got two types of people. You got people that are love oriented and you got people that are control oriented. A lot of women, because of just how things are and then programming and things like that, they're into control. That's why they can't really deal with anybody else, because most men are not letting no woman control them. Men are not into letting women control them. Like, we'll push things aside to get a paycheck and go to work or get business contracts, but men know the nature of of basically biology that men control things. We just play it. We play along to get along, but we absolutely know, caveman style, it's all about control. And we'll play along, like I say, to get along, but we absolutely know who's the boss. We just play the game. We play like we stupid, a lot of times. And a lot of dudes, they play along to just get some pussy, and that's a simp, and that's why I started calling out simps, because a lot of dudes, they do that shit. They go try to kowtow towards women in order to get some pussy. Like, they do whatever they can do, like to keep the relationship going, even no matter how fucked up it is, because they that's their way of keeping the relationship going and just being a simp. And it's like, that's their life. I mean, people do whatever they want to, but a lot of times what happens with simps is they want the respect of men and even women in group basically they try to get respect in different social circles and stuff like that, but they absolutely know they don't get no respect letting some woman walk all over you and do this and do that to you. They don't get no respect. Ain't no respect to get. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, like for one reason or another, you turn this woman into this, situation where she's like in Lord of the Rings, she's your precious. She's you're into her and what she provides to you, and when she's able to do for you or make you feel like it's your precious. You're a crackhead. A lot of men are crackhead for bitches. A bitch could, that's why I post. Most videos I post is for a reason. Like the little dark skinned chick with the big titties. She, you probably don't know, she's a porn star. And she's into let's just say she's into cunnilingus. Is it cunnilingus? I think it's no, fellatio. Yeah, she's into fellatio. Cunnilingus is the male version, eating pussy basically. But basically she's a fellatio artist. And she knows what women do. Like women absolutely know what women do. Like they know the games, they know the hustle, they absolutely know. And she said it. She said it just like plain as day. Like, you fell for that. Like, she just gave you a whole bunch of pussy. She whipped it on you. She gave you the best head ever. She took her time and let you bust all in her mouth and lick your nuts. And then now you're hooked, and it's like, you don't know. That's called that's called basically honey trapping. That's a honey trap. That's a honey trap technique. That's what they're kind of like accusing basically Andrew Tate is of doing. Basically like just honey trapping women, like basically love bombing or sex bombing and love bombing women to the point where they're head over heels to you, and then they're enthralled and entrapped into your bosom. Like, I mean, like, women know how to do the same shit to simps. Like, they'll get you, like, especially men that ain't used to or lazy. They're lazy daters or lazy with women as far as meeting women. They'll going in, men that go into these droughts and shit like that where they ain't getting no pussy for a long time. Then all of a sudden they get abroad, and then they start getting their dick sucked on a regular, getting pussy on a regular, and then you don't know how to handle that, or you never really experienced certain women, and then next thing you dealing with somebody that's trying to control you, and got a whole bunch of kids and needs some money. and then you know what I'm saying, trying to fucking be red pill and shit because you got involved with a master manipulator with some good head and mid pussy with maybe a fat ass and some titties. And you know, you got some men that it kind of ugly, or they're self-conscious about themselves, and they don't think they can get better. They in their brain, they believe that's the best that they can do. Like, you see that dude that shot that guy in Chicago? Look at the chick that he was with. Like, people don't fucking believe me when I say certain things about, like, when I talk about even Gary. Gary is the same thing. Matter of fact, Gary is actually worse than Chicago with that. It's the same type of thing. Like, you know, they violent simps. A lot of these ghettos, they have the guys that you know basically are rapping and, you know, thug culture and all of that, the shoot 'em up, you know, culture or whatever, drill music. These guys are just violent simps, basically. Most of them, they're violent simps. Like, you see that dude, if you go on, probably gotta go on Twitter and see the video. It was on Facebook too. The little light-skinned dude shot the dude up at the little, I think it was like a little restaurant or something. The chick came up and he was talking to him or talking to the chick. I think maybe trying to sell her some weed. I don't know. But the dude just pulled out and just shot the dude up, you know, because he was trying, he felt like he disrespected his woman. And it's goofy because you see his woman is like below 5. She's like a 4, might even be a 3. I think she got a BBL or something. I don't know. But it's like, man, I told people years ago, dudes in Chicago kill you over a fat broad, off an ugly fat broad. And that's like literally like that video of him actually crashing out, shooting that dude over this below mid chick. Okay. Basically swamp donkey. I mean, it's living proof. Like, I mean, it's video evidence to just basically support what the fuck I've been saying for years. Like, these dudes are so fucking so much simps. There are it is so many simps. Like, people, even ghetto dudes, they try to like they like, a lot of ghetto dudes have a PR team. Their PR team is that dudes that live in the suburbs, the whole quote unquote educated lames, are the simps. Like, they're the ones. No, it's a whole bunch of simps in the ghetto. Matter of fact, a lot of dudes, the reason why they live in the ghetto primarily is like long-term, lifelong ghetto residents. The reason why they're in the state that they're in is because of the decisions that they made on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, basically to be very much into getting money so you can get with a whole bunch of hood rats, so you can have sex with a whole bunch of hood rats. A lot of, you know, and I have to give credit to what credit is due. Ron Wills, he talks about stuff like this. He talks about how a lot of poor blacks, basically, they're very into hedonism. They don't know it's called hedonism, but that's what they're into. They're so much into basically hedonism that they kind of, to a certain extent, sacrifice their financial future or even just future by being hedonists, by basically trying to enjoy, you know, as much sexual escapades as they possibly can in their environment, or if they can go outside their environment. And it's like, you would think a poor guy, he will focus on, you know, maybe trying to learn something to, you know, get some type of skill set to make some more money, to get out of his circumstances. But no, Guys, a lot of guys are poor as fuck, and they're still trying to, like, a bad day is a day that they can't bust a nut in the bra. And don't get me wrong, like, I get it. It's a certain biological drive and urge, and that is important. But do to a certain extent, I mean, you ain't got to be no broke ass caveman trying to chase pussy every day. And a lot of times, black men do, they are guilty of being like that, of being wired like that. Being like a black man, if he's broke as fuck, if he got a dollar, if he ain't got a dollar to his name, if he busted a nut, he's a millionaire if he busted a nut. Because a lot of black men, that's all they be thinking about. They just be so sex crazed that it's like, if they ain't busting nuts on a regular and abroad, they not doing nothing in life. They're not hitting on nothing. It's like the situation gets kind of crazy when you got all these baby mamas over the place, and it's not like you're a sperm donor. You a motherfucker that's getting in relationships with bitches and busting in them. You got actual relationships with women and a whole bunch of kids all over the place. They know you. They know you. They know where you live. They know your name. They know your mama, your sisters, your cousins, and you got all of these families all over the place. And you can't afford the first family that you started. And it's, and a lot of this shit is the reason why the black community is the way it is, because you got a lot of these motherfuckers that this is what they be on. This is their modus operandi. That the dude, what does he go by? SKC. He call it eat. What do you call it? Eat, sleep, fight, bust. I mean, it's crazy, but it's a lot of, that's the modus, like the programming of a lot of black men. Eat, sleep, fight, bust. And it's like, as caveman as it sounds, and it is a lot of men, a lot of black men, that's how they wired. They can't really compete because they so programmed to eat, sleep, fight, and bust for these like hood rat broads. And that's why the hood is the way it is. They can't get out of that programming of eat, sleep, fight, bust. Like that's all they wired to do. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I like making money. I like having sex too. I like women. I like, sleeping. I like eating. I mean, but at the end of the day, man, all of that shit get pushed to the side besides sleep and food when my money ain't right. When my money ain't right, I ain't thinking about no motherfucking broads. If anything, a broad should be fucking paying me, helping me out if she worth anything. If a woman ain't trying to help me out, man, I don't give a fuck. I ain't trying to motherfucking worry about all of these, women or whatever when I don't have my money, right. So I mean, that's just me. Like I'm I know I'm not the only one that does that, but a lot of dudes, they don't care about no money. They just trying to get with the next chick, that they can, have something going on with. And it's like a lot of them guys, when they get older, they be like old as hell, and then they broke as fuck. They gotta go live in a state nursing home or a state, building, public housing building for old folks, or senior citizens, because they ain't got shit, because they never saved nothing. Every day was eat, sleep, fight, bust. And eat, sleep, fight, bust don't get you no motherfucking $1 million. It don't get you no whole bunch of money in the bank. It don't get you no retirement. Ain't no retirement plan for eat, sleep, fight, bust. That's why the black community, that's why the ghettos look the way it does. Because you got a whole bunch of people programmed to eat, sleep, fight, and bust. They're not programmed to, you know, start businesses, have some type of financial plan, have some type of financial intelligence or training or education, you know, to build new paradigms and new you know, centers for Horizon. You know what I'm saying? They just program to, you know, eat, sleep, fight, and bust. And then when you don't have the programming, they look at you, they got, you know, they got names for you, they call you a lame or whatever, shaming language, because you're not on this, you're not programmed to eat, sleep, fight, and bust. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it as far as biology, but there's a lot more to eating, sleeping, and fighting and busting. I mean, you got science, you got technology, you got, you know, you got money to, you know, at least make the situation better. It's better if you got a whole bunch of money, you know what I'm saying, with the whole eat, sleep, fight, bust. You could eat better. You could probably, you know, bust better. You don't have to fight as much because you could go buy you a fucking mansion in the woods, you know what I'm saying? Like, and have, you know, live in a fence, you know, a fence surrounding, or a gated community. I mean, like, I mean, it's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, just to be on some broke shit, on some being programmed every day to be eat, sleep, fighting, bust, and you ain't motherfucking making nothing for yourself, no future. Your financial goals are non-existent, man. You know, that's how that shit goes, man. When you old as hell and you've been living your life, that your whole life that way. And a lot of black men get old as hell. I don't know. I mean, they get old as hell, and that's they all they did was every day eat, sleep, fight, and bust. And they, you know, they got a bunch of kids, and you know, the kids are wonderful, but they ain't got no retirement. They ain't got no money. When they get older, they fucking broke as fuck. They gotta work all the way into retirement, after retirement, because they ain't got no retirement plan. And then by the time they get old and they can't work no more, they gotta go live in some type of assisted living facility for that's sponsored by the fucking government. And good luck on that. Good luck on the government taking care of you, because them places, I'm gonna tell you, I see these places are all over. That's like basically the projects for old people. That's one of my, I mean, it's not a nightmare, but that's one of my like like that shit is kind of like a worse scenario to think about. Like, it's something I'm trying to avoid. I'm not saying that I ain't like, that's just one of them things I'm like, I'm really trying to avoid. I ain't trying to be no old motherfucker in a state public housing complex. Like, I'm not trying to be an old motherfucker. You know, I lived my whole life and I avoided the projects. And then because I was on some eat, sleep, fighting bus in my 30s and 40s and 50s, I ran out of energy to eat, sleep, fighting bus. Now I got to go live in a fucking state housing complex for elderly motherfuckers. And I got missing teeth because I ain't take care of myself, and I ain't had no dental plan, because every day was going to the club, going to the bars, and trying to find who I can eat and sleep and fight and bust for. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's fucked up, man. You know, and I gotta call black men out for that shit. Black men are fucking the worst when it comes to that shit. And you know, black women too, because they get involved with motherfuckers, and you know, they you know, they right there with the eat, sleep, fighting, and busting too. They involved. They're the ones getting bust in. And you know, I'm cooking, man. I'm motherfucking, I know they ain't gonna like this shit, but I'm cooking like a motherfucker, man. I ain't, you know, when I first started this conversation, man, I ain't really, you know, really, to be honest, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I really literally started a live stream. I looked through my thumbnail photos And I saw this shit, and I was like, all right, well, let me just talk about this. And I knew, I knew people was saying, they were talking about it in the community tab. But yeah, man, I absolutely motherfucking torched this motherfucker. Um, and it's gonna stay up. And I don't really have nothing else to say, man. That was a fucking handful right there, and a lot of people, that's how they wired. That's why they all fucked up, because they on that eat sleep fighting bus programming. And then you got people like me, man. I'm trying to hustle. I'm trying to make $1 million out fall through my cell phone, man. I'm trying to get $1 million out my motherfucking cell phone, man. I'm trying to motherfucking get $1 billion out my fucking cell phone, and every day trying to improve, I ain't got, what I'm saying? I like women just like anybody else, but I understand that shit will make you a broke motherfucker trying to chase women all day, every day, thinking women, women, women. I gotta eat, sleep, fight, bust every day. Like that shit will. It's many men that I never met before that I know that was on that time, and they ain't got shit. They ain't got shit. They ain't got nothing to this day. Like, they gotta work long hours. You know, um, they gotta work past retirement. You know what I'm saying? Because they done chased a whole bunch of women and had a whole bunch of babies and you know families and all that type of shit. So they gotta like work hard and overtime. Like when you get to your 40s and 50s, really, you're supposed to kind of like fall back and get ready for your gradual retirement that's basically coming your way. You're not supposed to be like playing catch up in your 40s. A lot of black men, if they're lucky, they can try to play catch up in their 50s or whatever or 40s, but it's not comfortable because you're, like I say, when you get to your 40s and 50s, you really should be like really planning, like you should already have retirement started and you should be planning for your retirement. Not supposed to be like chasing because you done fell behind because you've been fucking off for decades, on some eat, sleep, fight, bust shit, and it's like, yeah, black men, they don't give a like they man, I they'll get a last dollar to bust a nut. Like they'll give everything up to bust a nut. It is nothing for black men to give up everything, including their life, their freedom, you know, to bust a nut. Like, and I'm not talking about these women are not fucking models or anything. Like these are regular, below regular average women, below average women, and they're going crazy, trying to, jealous of other men or whatever, you know. It's really crazy to me because a lot of these guys, they really never traveled. They really haven't traveled much, and they really don't have that. Really, to be honest, behind the layers, it's just a dude that's, basically raised by a single mom. They pedestalize women because that's you have no other choice because that being raised by a single mother, and you just think that this is just so great and there's nothing else better and this is the best I can get, and you jealous of other men. Really, you hate other men. Because I think it was more to it than that with this dude that shot the dude. He was 41 years old. He's 41 years old, and he shot this dude. He's aging terribly, obviously. And he's 41, shot the dude on the, in front of the store, for trying to talk to his little big back ass girlfriend or whatever. And it's like, basically, You know, I'll make a thumbnail of this video. I'll change the thumbnail to dude or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, like these dudes, man, that's what they do, man. That's how they think. Like, and you got guys like me. I've been all over the world, man. Not all over the world, but I've been outside of this country, man, plenty of times in different countries, man. I've seen women, you know, man. I mean, if you've been to Japan, man, you know, you go to Japan, man, it's gonna change your life. Like if you go to Japan one time, you know, you gonna be like, wow. You know, the people treat you nice, they talk to you nice, you ask for directions, they nice and you know, um women are nice. I mean, it is like, yeah, man, you go back to somewhere else or whatever, you know, you like, damn, what the fuck? This is you have so when you travel, you have a comparisons of wherever you are or where places you've been to other places, and you know this place is fucked up. You like, oh, you don't put value in this fucked up ass place because you have case examples of better places than this actual place that you live or you grew up, and you know it's other places that are a lot better, and you know you're not going to die on this hill, you know, around these other women as well, because you know it's other places that are a lot better, you know. And a lot of dudes that ain't never traveled, they don't have any comparisons, so they think this is the only thing that they got, you know. And that's why traveling is very important, you know, because it really make you bougie, really, to be honest, when you travel, because you are, like I say, you already know it's better places. You've been around other people that, you know, are educated and rich in other countries and stuff too, and you got a model to compare other things with. And it's like, you looking at people in this country and the way they acting is like, yeah, I know that's the way you act like that here, but when you go somewhere else, you're not going to be acting like that. You know, you get a little class about yourself when you get on that plane, man, and you start, going places. But anyway, I've talked enough. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.